All right, welcome in, everybody. It is just an hour until the beginning tip-off games of the night, so we got you covered at Paid for Play, coming at you right at 6:30 on the East Coast. So we'll be breaking down our best bets for the night, the games to watch, and as everyone knows, it's March, so everyone's bracketologist. No, we're not going to be bracketologists. We're just going to talk about one or two teams that we think could potentially make a deep run, or that we think is overrated and to come busting out busting out early. Pause. But as usual, the show is live on Paid for Play on our Twitter, so make sure to give us a like and retweet there. And we're also live on Daily Bread Media YouTube page. If you tapped in with us earlier, you saw that Daily Bread episode with us, with Sosa and Rex. So you have all of your bets for college and NBA. So if you want some more college hoops action from Steven and Spindock, this is the spot to be. So if you're live with us on Twitter, thank you. I'll be monitoring your comments, but the best spots to be is on the YouTube page. So Steven, how you doing tonight?
You know, I'm feeling great. I had a great day of bets yesterday, getting ready to probably lose all of it today because I'm so up and down like that. But we got to keep up the good vibes. You know, it's going to be another sweep today. We're ready to go.
Spin, how are you doing?
Oh man, it's good. It's good. Can't wait. Ready to get this slate going. I knew we were going live. I know that we've gotten some DMs today about like where are the plays. Well, here you go, right here. This is what we're waiting for.
Always got to keep them on their toes if we're going to come at them with spaces or live. But yeah, Tuesdays, usually it's the night that we're going to be coming at you live, so you can expect some sort of spaces or something else the rest of the days there. But we appreciate from all of you tapping in the spaces, as we always say there. Request a mic at the end. We do this because now you have to listen to us other than commenting on the YouTube. During the spaces, it's your guys' show. So best bets, we'll give it about 8 to 10 more minutes until we get the full cast in here. What is up, Goose? But we'll start it off with each. We got a team. This is top 25 and not in the top 25, correct? One team that's overrated that currently sits in the top 25, and one team that's underrated that's not in there.
Yeah.
That's how we all had it lined up, correct?
That's fine.
Yeah. So I'll start off with my team that's overrated. I think it's USC. They won their games out of conference. It's not like they really played anybody all that tough. And then once they got in conference, they've lost to two unranked teams because they lost to Stanford twice. But they're still in there at 19. I guess they're doing it just because they only have 3 losses. But the way this team plays, when they have to play teams with talent, they don't look like a top 25 team. At least not to me. Like, sure, you still got the other Mobley there, but Boogie Ellis hasn't been what USC wanted him to be as a point guard. I don't think they're deep enough. They have that one shooter who somehow also can't make free throws. He's great from shooting the 3, but he can't make free throws. Pretty weird combination to me. I don't know. I feel like this is a team that is going to end up with like a top 5 or top 6 seed in the NCAA tournament, and they're not making it out of the first weekend.
Spin, who's your overrated side?
Yeah, so my overrated team, I actually did. So mine is Tennessee. You can say that it's my Rick Barnes bias, and I guess that's partially true. But look, the guy just, for the most part, just wets the bed when he gets into the dance or in any big, meaningful game. Tennessee has some very, very stark home and road splits. And obviously when you're road and neutral, and obviously when you're playing in the dance, you are playing on the road or at a neutral site. So their EFG percentage is almost 11% less. They're a worse 3-point shooting team. They turn the ball over more. At home, they have just lockdown defense, but on the road, really when you look at all of their road games, you really can't look at it and point to a signature road win. I mean, they lost to Texas. They got throttled by Kentucky. They lost to LSU, lost to Alabama. I mean, I could go on and on and on and on and on. But, really just in those situations, especially against good teams, they have not played well at all. The only one you can point to, and this was on a neutral court, is they did beat North Carolina. So they beat North Carolina on a neutral floor. But for me, when you factor in how they can just go long stretches without having very good offense, the defense, yes, will carry them. But when you look at what their home and road splits are in that area, it's just, to me, not a recipe for success in the big dance. And, again, you get into a late game situation in an NCAA tournament and you have random decent college coach A and Rick Barnes. I will take random college coach every single time, unless it's against Bill Self. Then maybe I'll just turn the game off.
All right. I see where you two went with it. Didn't really go too far off there. You picked a little bit of the bottom teams down there. I'm going after number 6. I believe Houston is overrated.
Ooh, all right.
So the biggest reason for that, and it's the loss of Marcus Sasser. If he was still in the lineup, I would have been a lot more sold on this squad. But one, given who they've played, their 2 losses that came against Wisconsin and Alabama, their 2 quality wins are Oregon and Oklahoma State, so you can take those of who they want. Other than that, they've played nobody. Their conference is just – some people want to give the Americans some respect. You might get 2 to 3 teams in there. That's about it. This team is head and shoulders way apart from the class. Are they a top 50 team this year? Are they more towards 25 to 45 than I think in the top 10? That's where I more see this squad. What we see in this team every single tournament is they just get cold. And on this season, I don't see where the shooters are going to be coming from. So that's where I got Houston.
Yeah. For Houston to try to defend Houston just a little bit, their defense is top 10 for sure, but the offense isn't anywhere near where it needs to be. I'd see them, probably in that 20 to 25 range. I wouldn't keep them out of it, but
I mean, their offense is
six
good.
Is
They're
high.
averaging over 70 points per game. So that's what I'm just saying. When it comes conference time, this is when their weakness is going to show, like it has every season that it's come to. The American this year, I just think, is that weak when Cincy, SMU, and Wichita are your next 3 teams in there. That's your competition for 15 to 20 straight games. This is kind of where I almost want to give Gonzaga in the West Coast Conference more credit than the American this year, just overall strength quality.
Yeah. And numbers and actually record quality metrics would support that.
Yeah, I think there's there's 4 teams in the West Coast and 4 teams in the Mountain West that are all in the top 44 of the net rankings right now.
Yep.
So like those conferences are actually pretty good. And that's why
that's where I just think Houston's just completely flying under the radar of just chilling in the top 10, not taking any bad losses because they've been on the ropes in some games. And the first one they went to OT at Hofstra. That's what I'm just saying. I think a team in the first round could catch them. Who do we go ahead, Spin? Sorry.
I was just going to say, and that was a Hofstra team that was playing without Jalen Ray, their leading scorer. He was out that game.
Right. So we'll give you our underrated teams, so maybe teams to fade coming up, and then we'll give you our best bets for the night, and then we'll get into some other segments as well right as the games are about to tip. But, Steven, who's your underrated side?
So I have 2 that I like for underrated, but one of them I'm going to be giving out in the next segment as a team that's could make a run as a sleeper. So here, I'm just going to give out my squad. It's Boise State is underrated. They are essentially the second hottest team in the country right now behind Auburn. So like they've been kind of sneaking out wins so far, but the thing is they're undefeated and I think they have at least a 2-game lead in the Mountain West. And right now they're still just kind of barely receiving votes. So if you're telling me you're going to look at that defense and a team that's as hot as they are kind of beaten some of the teams that they have, like San Diego State, Wyoming, like a Fresno State, like some of those teams that are in the top 44 of the net, and they still can't get ranked over, like, I guess I probably shouldn't say Marquette, but like teams that have been struggling a little bit more as of late. Like I feel like the Texas, Marquette, LSU are staying in there off kind of name recognition alone at this point, because none of them have been what we expected them to be. They've been losing some games they shouldn't lose, and like there's just hotter teams in lower conferences that are still underrated because it almost feels like the AP poll doesn't want as many mid majors in that top 25.
Spin, who do you got for here?
I'm going to the MAC for this one. The Iona Gales, 100%. They're 68th KenPom. They are top 55 in other metrics. So the big thing about Iona too is that, yeah, they've been kind of just running the table in the MAC, but when you look at it before that, their overall record quality, 29th, with just a host of what I would consider to be very, very good wins. They won, they beat Alabama. They have wins against Hofstra. They have just a host of solid wins. They lost to St. Louis by a point. And when you look at them as a team, so this team is made up actually a lot made up of guys that have transferred in to combine with the already solid roster that they have. So Tyson Jolly, who came over from SMU, he's their leading scorer, leading minutes guy. They all have a nice inside-outside combo with Tyson Jolly and Nelly Jr. Joseph. Both of those guys average 14-plus points per game. And what I really like about them is that despite having a lot of transfers, they're a very experienced group. And that doesn't even factor in the coaching of Pitino. So if there is a weakness that Iona has, it's if they get down, they don't shoot the three particularly well. They're only about 33% for the year. However, their offense is centered around a lot of dribble penetration, a lot of short pull-up jump shots, and they are 10th in the country in near proximity shots at the rim. And so if you get them against a team that is a three-point shooting team or a team that relies a little bit more on the three, they defend it really well. So when you combine those two things, you do have the makings of a first-round upset. Now, depending on where or how they finish in the MAC, I could see them being like an 8 or a 9 seed, so they might not even be a dog in the first round. I legitimately could see them, depending on who it is, knocking off a 1 or a 2 in the second round if that's where they happen to get seeded. So, and also come tournament time, I'm never going to bet against Rick Pitino. So give me Iona for this one.
All right. I like where you're going for that one. Mine, I could kind of substitute these two teams, but since this team isn't ranked and it's a crime that they're not ranked, I see Steven smiling, so he already knows where I'm going with this one. It's Murray State. 22.
That was my second one. That was
10-0 in conference. It's impossible for this, and the scariest part is KJ Williams is getting hot at the right time for this squad, where they're just probably going to go nuclear, and this is setting up for, I hate calling them bracket busters, but if they sweep the regular season and they don't win the conference, they're still going to get in as an at-large. So that's kind of where all teams like in the middle of the ACC, you better hope Murray starts losing now or they win that conference tourney, because this is one of the few teams from the real small mid-majors that's going to be there. And the key piece is Justice Hill. The past 2 games has gone back in his group, but it's really KJ Williams scoring the ball. He had a 33 piece, I think it was 4 games ago. So that's my team there.
Yeah, like I said, I was basically flipping a coin between Murray and Iona. And looking at KenPom too, and looking at other metric sites, Murray State is ranked ahead of at least 5 top 25 teams right now. And in some cases, they're like 10 to 15 spots better than a number of top 25 teams, but yet there's just they just keep hanging on in that others receiving votes. So
it's because they don't have a quality one.
Yeah, that's true.
That's their biggest thing. I was going at Houston, so that's kind of where you can use the same argument against me in this one, because Murray really hasn't played that many people either. But you got one team that has 4 questionable games sitting all the way up there at 6 and one that's never been ranked yet. We're going to get into best bets, and then we'll get back into the discussion as we got about 50 people rocking with us between Twitter and YouTube. So I think it's about time because 20 minutes till tip off.
Yeah. So I only got I got a light 6-pack of plays today. Usually when I'm on these shows, there's like 10, 12 picks. It's only a nice easy 6 today. I'm gonna be rocking with Davidson money line. I know it's St. Bonaventure, but at the same time, St. Bonaventure hasn't looked like who we thought they were going to be coming into the year. So if I'm getting Davidson plus money, I'll take that. I'm also still going to rock with my guy Goose. I want Rutgers to go on a run, and I want them to be on a winning streak when I go there next week. So I'm taking Rutgers money line over Northwestern. I'm taking Richmond -7 over Duquesne. I'm taking Texas A&M plus 11 to cover against Tennessee because I don't know who Tennessee should be favored by more than 10 points against. It's definitely not Texas A&M. I'm going to take Michigan State minus the 3.5. And even with Ochai out, I'm going to take Kansas at the -2.5.
Spin, what do you got for us?
Yep. All right. So I am going to go. There's 3 I'll give out here. The first one is Bowling Green, Central Michigan over 157.5. I see this game being played close to the low, even the mid 160s. Both teams are very poor defensively, 344th and 331st in defensive efficiency. Central Michigan, very good from 3. They're 47th. Bowling Green is sub 300 in defending. Bowling Green, 64th in breakaway points. Central Michigan, sub 200 in defending. I could go on here. Both of these teams are very, pretty decent offenses or can do some decent things offensively, specifically Central Michigan when they're at home. And then you have just some abysmal defensive performances. So this one opened up at 159.5, and it actually has gone down to 157.5. There's been some public action coming in on the under. So I will take the over here. I'm glad that I waited on it. The second one that I'll give out here is Nevada. Nevada for me is I honestly I wouldn't mind taking them on the money line here, but the 1.5 I'm just going to go ahead and give the money line here. I don't know how all of a sudden, just because they Steve and I were talking about this before the show, I don't know how just all of a sudden because they smacked Colorado State that UNLV becomes this like elite team. I don't really see it. I can definitely see this being a close game, at least in the first half and maybe even partially into the second half. But for me at plus money, I would definitely take Nevada here, even on the road. And then for the last one here, I will give out, there's actually a bunch of them that I like here. I will give out Miami of Ohio on the money line to win outright against Kent State. I've bet on Miami of Ohio before, bet on them in the Diamond Club. They burned us that game. But the only reason why they did was they actually shot horrifically that game against Toledo. They've actually been shooting much better. Kent State been very, very poor on the road so far this year. So just give me Miami of Ohio money line at plus 110. If you don't have that strong of a stomach, you can take them with plus 1.5 at -105. But for me, the value is on the money
line. All right. So you guys already heard my plays on bread. So I sprinkled in some maybe new ones here. Little usual spin alluded to, got the extras in the Diamond Club. But what I'm going to be rocking with tonight is I'm taking, so stomach the under here, hold your nose, gave out the Bama Auburn under 156.5. It's still sitting at 157. It's going to be a steady one. Bama is completely Jekyll and Hyde. You never know which one's going to be showing up each night. I just think Auburn's defense in that 3/4 press that they're going to get into is going to be able to give Bama fits. The The biggest issue with that Baylor didn't do to Bama was they didn't apply any pressure to them, which allowed their guards to get the offense clicking. I think Auburn's going to shut that down from the jump. Staying in the Tennessee game, as Steven alluded to, I don't know why Tennessee's laying that many points. So that's why I'm going with the under 131.5 here. I think we see a gross game. Neither team breaks 65 points. So if I had to take an angle on this one, I'd not be laying it either. Steven, I see that you're sweating your UConn game right now. The third one I got is Air Force, Utah State, under 125.5, minus 110. Air Force on the road is usually just bad news. Traveling to Provo is one of the worst spots to do it. Utah State, it's kind of just you stomach it like if you tail Daily Bread's San Diego State. The one offense might pop, but the other one's not going to break 50. And then we don't talk about parlays, guys, but I got a fun little one here for you. How do we feel about fading the full state of Michigan by taking Northern Illinois on the money line at plus 145? I mean, they're 3.5-point dogs. You could just take it there. Lay it with Toledo minus 10 at EMU. And then you lay it with, what's the third one? Bowling Green at Central Michigan. So you're fading Central, Western, and Eastern all in the same play. All three of them play tonight. I don't know if I want to do it, but I joked about it on Bread. So I looked into a legit play, and it just seems like you take the two favorites on the spread and you take the Northern Illinois money line.
You don't want to be real.
Well, I mean, if you want to fade the whole state of Michigan, rock with Maryland money line too,
and Nebraska.
God damn. All right, I was just thinking about smaller Michigans. All right, that'd be a little wild.
Not those Michigans. Not those Michigans.
Just go the whole state. Maybe we'll see. Goose loves it.
Man, yo, I will say just real quick before we get back into it, this UConn game's wild. They will not call a foul to save their lives. They missed the entire under 16 timeout. The first time there was a stop in the game was at 11 and a half minutes to go in the first half. So this is going to be dangerous. I can feel it already.
And then I feel like it wouldn't do it justice if I didn't say I'm not going to do it tonight. But since there's a Seton Hall game, they're playing Georgetown, another team with pace. That over is quite tempting. Until Seton Hall shows that they're not broken, we won't get back into that well.
Well, I mean, you already got 3 unders. You might as well throw in an over to cancel it out.
That's the worst thing. If you play 3 one side of a total and the other, and then you go all 4 wrong way, there's nothing worse in the world. So we want to talk about our sleeper teams.
Yep.
And
who wants to lead it off?
No. Don't.
Is Steven frozen?
Shit, it looks like he's frozen. I didn't even realize that. That's the reason why he wasn't moving. Steven, you good?
All right. You want me to go?
All right. Who's your team?
Oh, yeah. All right.
So my...
You're good. Go. I'll bring him back in a second.
All right. So I love my mid-majors. We're going to my other conference, the Colonial. And for my sleeper team, I am going, for those of you that have been with me on Spaces, for those in the Diamond Club, you know how much I love this team. It's the Towson Tigers. I love this team. So a couple of things about Towson that I think sets them up for at least a minor amount of success. And what I mean a minor amount of success, they're projected to be a 14 seed right now. They're tied atop the Colonial with UNC Wilmington. UNC Wilmington has been absolutely on fire. I don't think that holds. And I also think come tournament time, Towson is much, much more equipped to not only win the Colonial, but then go on and be very competitive, if not win one game at least in the NCAAs. So they check a lot of the boxes that I look for. Number one is it's a team filled with upperclassmen. So of their top 7 minutes getters, they're all juniors and seniors. Including their 2 leading scorers, Cameron Holden and Nicholas Timberlake. No relation to Justin, if I remember. Both of them, especially Timberlake, can shoot the lights out of the ball. He's a 41% three-point shooter, which leads me to my next point. They are extremely efficient on offense and generating shots. So they're top 100 in three-point percentage, mid-range percentage, and overall offensive efficiency. So they can score. They also can defend very effectively. So they prevent teams from getting out on the break. They're 28th in least breakaways or points, easy points off a break. They're top 100 in defending the three. I mean, they are a metric team dream. And they also have a coach in Pat Scarry, who is in his 11th year. So it's a group of guys that know the system. They have experience. They are a team where if they win the Colonial and they're a 13 or 14 seed, which is where I would project them to be, and you're looking at, and you're a 3 or a 4 seed and you see them, I would be scared as hell, because they are a team that can very, very easily knock somebody off. The other thing that they have is, despite playing in the Colonial, they have a top 100 record quality, and they are 39th in overall rating away from home. So it doesn't matter if they played on a neutral floor, doesn't matter if they played away from their home building, they have performed the exact same. So all of those things are things I look for when I look for a team to make some noise in the NCAA tournament, especially a mid-major. So I really, really hope that they win the Colonial. As much as I love a bunch of other Colonial teams like Hofstra, like UNC Wilmington, I really, really hope, for the sake of the conference, that Towson goes, because I think Towson is best set up to win an NCAA tournament game.
Steven, it seems like you're good now. Who's yours?
Yeah. So even though the channel's been growing, sadly my internet connection has not. But my team isn't necessarily a team; it's more of a conference, and it's the same team you mentioned earlier. It's the OVC. Pretty much any of the three teams that I see coming out of that conference, I think could easily win a game, if not two, in the tournament. Whether you got Belmont, Morehead State, or Murray State. Honestly, personally, I would rather see Morehead State beat Murray State in the championship game and then get both of those teams in the tournament. Because the one guy you didn't mention before, probably because we all know he's already their best player anyway for Murray State, but Tevin Brown is kind of how that team goes. And just him as a scorer and a passer to those guys you mentioned earlier, they have all the weapons to beat pretty much anyone they match up with. And then just to give a case for Morehead State as well, they got a bunch of shooters with an elite guy in the middle in Janai Broom. And that dude, he proved how good he was when they played against Belmont. Just the way he was able to lock down the way he was able to lock down Nick Muszynski, so the rest of their guys could guard Belmont's three-point shooters. That's essentially the way you beat Belmont. And that's also the way that you can pull off an upset in the NCAA tournament. So I think that conference as a whole is the best small conference in the country, and they deserve multiple teams in the tournament because multiple teams can win games in the tournament.
All right. Like where you went there, Steven. I'm not giving a cop-out answer here, but doing my bracketology, crunching my numbers, it's basically two teams that I see in the 13 line, because that's essentially our sleepers got to get the upset. I got to stick with my Jackrabbits. So I think South Dakota State, and they fit the same mold, in Toledo. Both obviously currently favorites within their conferences, but they're just pure offense. 2-point defense really isn't there. Each of them are all right, guarded in the three, but both of them rely on that three ball, and that's the one thing that can win you a first-round game. Current 4 seeds are looking like Tech, Illinois, UConn, Xavier, Tennessee, Wisconsin, Michigan State, kind of somewhere in that fold. So that's just kind of where these teams with their all-out offense approach can get one of these teams, especially if they get one that likes to play slower. With South Dakota State, I mean, they're hot as can be. Sure, they have a questionable loss to Idaho where they let a worse team play down to their style, almost put up a 100-burger on them. But when Sherman's on his game, I think him and Wilson, they have the height and the range from three that can give any Power 5 issues. And then with Toledo, it's a little bit more of a one-man show with Ryan Rollins and Chumate. Those two have to be clicking. If any type of team can get a guard big man combo that have more than above average defense, Toledo lose a little bit more of that dog, but I think they have a little bit more fight in it because if you remember their game with Michigan State earlier in the year, it was at Sparty. They went pretty tough for the entire game there.
Yep. I just want to throw out one honorable mention, and I hope that they win their conference tournament as well. That would, and actually one of two. I think that either Wagner or Bryant could potentially at least put a scare into a 14 to a 3 or a 4 seed in the tournament. And because so you look at Bryant, they have Peter Kiss, who's probably going to be the NEC Player of the Year, super senior. He's just Mr. Do-It-All. Guy can shoot. Guy can go to the rim, and he's got a little feisty streak in him, which was actually pretty funny to see the clean-cut white boy talking smack and going at it with LIU on Sunday. But with Wagner, the thing that I like about Wagner, where I think that they could just give an opening round team, especially a higher seed, fits, is they're just nonstop, all out, full court pressure, and their willingness to just play super physical. Offensively, for Wagner, offensively beyond Alex Morales, they don't really have a ton. Elijah Ford is a decent player, but what they really do is they force a ton of turnovers, and they force you to play ugly and hard for all 40 minutes. So if you get one of those blue blood programs that rolls in there thinking that they're going to steamroll through the first round because it's a small little team from the Northeastern Conference, and they see Wagner, they are in for a surprise, because that is of all the teams that I've watched, and I lost track, all the games that I've watched this year, Wagner is probably one of, if not the feistiest teams that I have ever seen. Doesn't matter if they're up 15 or if they're down 25. They just keep coming at you. They keep bodying you. They don't care if they foul. They're going to play as physical as the officials allow them. So if they get in and they get up against the right team that doesn't have strong guards, I would take them to cover for sure. And you might be hearing about them as the upset special of the day.
So Spin, to kind of take that team to the next level, to put for my honorable mention, because I don't know if they're technically considered a sleeper team, but it's got to be St. Mary's at this point.
Yeah.
Because if they fall on that 7 or 8 seed right there, there's a lot of 1s and 2s, 7 and 8s that you potentially want to see out there, because you got a little bit more questionable ones out there, maybe with like Marquette, Indiana, with Boise State and BYU. I think St. Mary's is the sneakiest one of all of them, especially with that crazy comeback they had against the Dons, because that's going to be a quad 1 win come the end of the season, and that's going to hold a lot of weight. So that probably gets them, as long as Gonzaga is really only their loss for the rest of the season, and maybe if they only slip up once, they're looking at like an 8 at worst, because their strength of schedule is one of the toughest throughout the whole college hoops.
Yeah. Just to go back to some of the teams you said, don't forget about our boy, the transfer from Boise State, Ray J. Dennis, who's essentially the other guard with Ryan Rollins at Toledo. And then Peter Kiss is essentially the same type of guy as Grayson Allen, just a little bit less dirty on the court and not as hated because he doesn't play for Duke. But yeah, no, it's those two. And I'll say, instead of a sleeper, I think the one team that everybody loves that's not going to make it is going to end up being BYU, because BYU is just without like when their guard was going crazy early in the season, everybody still loved them. But now that he's kind of leveled off, you're seeing how much it hurts BYU not having their 2 bigs that they thought they were going to have coming into the year. Like, this is not the same team in the West Coast Conference that we thought they were going to be early on this year.
When does BYU play? Because the last time you slandered Alex Barcelo, I'm pretty sure he dropped, what was it, 28 against Creighton? I forget what game it was this season.
The last time I slandered him was right before the Oregon game, and he went like 12 of 12 from the field and 5 of 5 from 3.
25. Yeah, I remember there was one time because you're usually pretty credible to him. But I remember the one time this season you went against him, and he's tuned in to listen. So
well, and BYU is up against it right now. I totally agree with that one because their next 2 games are San Francisco and Gonzaga. So when you think about a team that's lost twice in a row on that crazy buzzer beater to Santa Clara, and then they followed it up with a very, very subpar performance against Pacific. Now they're staring in the face, dropping 4 in a row. And after that, then they get Loyola Marymount, who isn't a pushover. 2 games after that, they get St. Mary's. I mean, it's a tough road the rest of the way for them. So they could be looking at a bottom half seed in the conference tournament, which I probably would not spell very good things for them.
Let's not forget they also lost to Utah Valley State. So
okay,
like the Pacific loss is bad, but you also lost to Utah Valley State.
The Mad Dog coached him to victory. Mark Madsen.
Okay. I respect BYU. They went to Utah Valley State. Not many bigger teams will do that, especially when they're not in the Power 5. But I think give me all of the BYU against San Francisco on Thursday at home. I hope they open as dogs. I don't think they will. They'll probably open slightly on their 3 would be my best guess. But I think I might be all over them. So that's basically going to wrap us up for this. We did have something else planned, but with the game's about to tip off, I think that's the best way to do it.
Sounds good.
Be sure to give us a like and subscribe, but we're at.
Peace.